Hey guys, Ricky Widmer here from Most Valuable Podcast. You're about to listen to a little bit of our primetime podcast that we recorded this week. Make sure to go to Blog Talk Radio / Most Valuable Podcast for our full-length podcast that you can go ahead and download. I hope you enjoy it. I know me and Brandon did recording it. But Brandon, we got to move on into our next topic, and it's a topic that is no stranger. It is no stranger here to the Primetime Podcast, as we 3 months ago, December 15th, 2016, did a similar segment where the question was, does Jarrett Stidham make Auburn 2017 contenders? And on that video, we had 13 wonderful comments, a lot of them all in a reply to King Fade, who kind of got the conversation going in the comment section, and everyone just started jumping on. But after the spring game that Auburn had, theirs was also this week, and the headline on ESPN was interesting. It said, Jarrett Stidham has a blast at Auburn spring game. Basically, he wowed fans with what he did. Final stat line, 16 of 20 from the field, 267 yards through the air. He had a touchdown, and then he had the lone touchdown when he had his fumble recovered by a running back that ran it in. That was the lone touchdown for him on the field. But Brandon, the way we're going to ask this today is we're not going to ask the same question of does Jarrett Stidham make Auburn contenders, because I think he does. We already established that. But how good will Auburn be with Jarrett Stidham in 2017?
Well, they've certainly got to be better than a 30-12 loss to Big Brother Alabama that they had last year. And I think that it's going to be better than that. Mm-hmm. It's got to be better than that for Auburn. So they lose to Alabama last year, 30-12. Their guys that they had at quarterback last season, Jeremy Johnson, John Franklin III, they weren't able to get anything done.
And John Franklin III, you might know his name from East Mississippi, from what was the Netflix? It was like Hard U or something, the community college, the same one that Chad Kelly went to, and he was on that Netflix series for that. So that I thought he was going to come in and he was going to be the guy, but he didn't prove to be the guy last year for the Tigers.
And then you also had Sean White, who was in there. He got injured. Mm-hmm. He didn't do terrible when he was in, but he got injured as well. Now you look at this year, so Johnson's out of eligibility, and Franklin will be in there, but he wasn't able to do much again last year. So you look at Stidham, he's going to be the guy. And I think that he definitely makes them better. I mean, if you take a look at what he was able to do while he was at Baylor, 2015, 75 of 109 passing, over 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Now, some people could look at him and go, oh, is he injury prone? Is Jarrett Stidham injury prone? So he had an injury. Can you say that that's injury prone? I don't think you can say that that's injury prone. Obviously, you never like to see a quarterback go down ever. For your program, because sometimes it does take a little bit for him to get back, but at the same time, sometimes not. So a couple of tweets that I want to read about how Auburn fans feel about Jarrett Stidham. The Auburn family welcomes you, Jarrett Stidham, and we desperately need a leader and passer like you. #War Eagle, #come home. And then Blake Lane tweets, if Auburn lands Jarrett Stidham, they are immediately preseason top 5 for 2017. That defense is biting, and he would put the O over the top. And finally, Michael says, gonna need to wear adult diapers, because if Auburn lands Jarrett Stidham, I will poop myself. Well, Michael, I hope you didn't poop yourself.
It depends.
But I want to say that this is how excited the Auburn Nation is. War Eagle is about getting Stidham. And you going back to, obviously, he's going to be the starter. Because if he's not the starter, why would he go there? Why would he go and be in a place where he's not going to be the starter? Makes no sense. Especially when you had other places like Texas A&M trying to get him. So Stidham is going to be the starter there. And yes, he is going to make Auburn better. I feel like it has been since, well, when Jeremy Johnson had a good season there, 3 years ago? When maybe it was a fluke season, because he certainly didn't have it last year. No one really did for Auburn last year. But I think that you get Stidham, You get a guy who I thought was very good while at Baylor. I was happy.
Yep.
I was happy about him being the starter and taking over. The guy is talented, very talented, and he knows how to be able to score points. I think that he is what Auburn maybe needs to help put them over the hill and be competitive in the SEC. And they can be a team that can be competitive in the SEC. I think with Jarrett Stidham, he allows them to be competitive with Alabama. He allows them to be competitive with Ole Miss, with Texas A&M, with all of those other teams, with Georgia. I think that they will be in that mix this season. And I do think it's because of Jarrett Stidham.
Well, and going back to his last season, his only season, the 2015 year with Baylor, before I get into my main points, I want to tell you something that I don't know if you knew. We talked about Stidham. You know how I said we talked about on December 15th of 2016 when it's, does he make Auburn contenders? We also talked about him in 2015, November 10th of 2015, when we asked the question with Jarrett Stidham, are the playoffs still obtainable with Baylor? And guess what happened, Brandon? The curse of the Primetime Podcast struck again because Baylor, I know there was an injury there, and that's when he kind of took over. That's why we had that segment. They were 8-0, Baylor was, that year. Then we do that segment on Jarrett Stidham and can the playoffs still be attainable? They finish 1-3 to end the season before beating North Carolina in the Russell Athletic Bowl. So for our loyal followers of the Primetime Podcast, you know it well, the Primetime Podcast curse. If we talk about your team and ramp them up for a week, they're going to lose that next week. That's probably what's going to happen. Just look at college basketball. We've done it so many times, but it's one of those things where I don't know if I would put Auburn in the preseason top 5 just with Jarrett Stidham. Top 10 for sure. Top 5, I would have to think about it and really analyze some of the other teams because it's one of those things where Auburn, to me, they don't have that big of a mountain to jump. They were second in their division last year, and the only reason they were second in their division is because Big Brother Alabama was so much better than them last year. This year, I kind of feel like, though, Jarrett Stidham, I'm going to go ahead and say it, and I'm going to walk out on that limb. The Iron Bowl might be competitive this year. It might be the clash of the quarter. I can just see it now. The whole week going up into the Iron Bowl, clash of the quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, Jarrett Stidham, bringing some excitement back to that Iron Bowl that we haven't seen since Auburn won on that miraculous last play, the returnception, as some have called it, some being me. But it's one of those things where
So you're the only one that calls it that. I am the only one.
It's one of those things where he did well at Baylor. However, I want to flip it. The defenses aren't that. You of all people have bitched and moaned and complained and ragged is the real word I want to use. Ragged on the Big 12 for its defenses. Should there be that one guy, at least that one guy, that's the skeptic where it's like, let's see how he does against an SEC defense before we praise him? Should there be that guy?
I would be the guy actually to kind of flip that a little bit and say, wow, he's going to have a defense now. Now think of how successful he could be. Now he's got a defense to support him. Mm-hmm. And he's got an offense that can make some plays. You insert him there, and again, Shaun White was pretty darn solid last year. Unfortunately, he got hurt. But I think that you insert Stidham, and I think that he might be the guy to do it, and you have now a defense at Auburn. I think that, I mean, I'm not saying it's Alabama's defense by any means, but it's definitely leaps and bounds better than a defense that you're going to get in the Big 12. That for me, that's just a given. So I think for him being able to play behind that and know that, hey, you know what? You just went down and you got yourself a 14-0 lead. It's not going to be 14-14 in the next two drives for the other team. So I think that that's something that will be able to help him be successful.
Well, and another thing that goes to, I want to actually take that and run with it, is the fact that now that he may have a defense, he may be asked to not be on the field as much. And the one stat that I was trying to pull up but cannot find it here is the time of possession for Baylor in that year, the 2015 year, to see how often he was on the field compared to not on the field. But I will say with Auburn, if they can get if they can have their defense go out there, give the offense some rest, but still be able to get the offense on the field and not have the defense be tired, have that balance between which. That's going to be the key, because Stidham, no one's denying, quality quarterback, quality starting quarterback. We're not having that discussion like we had with Clemson. With Clemson, it's, is Kelly Bryant the starting quarterback? No. Jarrett Stidham is your starter. There is no questioning that. It's just one of those things of, how's he going to do against those SEC teams? And I mean, looking at the schedule for Auburn, I don't think it's that tough of a schedule. They start out against Georgia Southern at home, should probably win that game. Clemson on the road. Death Valley is always a hard place to play. That will be a good one, early good game for us to watch in the non-conference. Mercer should be no contest. Missouri on the road, I'm going to say should be no contest. Mississippi State might be tough because Mullins' teams, you never really, ever since Dak Prescott left.
I mean, look at how they
floppy.
Well, look at how they even played last year in some of their games. They played pretty competitive in some of those games,
and that's why I'm saying that could be a tough one. Old Miss could be an interesting one. Then, to me, the gauntlet. You have a gauntlet here because the Mississippi games, both of them, are at home. Then you have 3 on the road. You go to the other Death Valley in LSU. You go to Arkansas, and then you go to Texas A&M. Texas A&M might be a win. I don't think Texas A&M is going to do anything special this year, but to go into Death Valley, LSU is going to be an interesting team this year. What are we going to get from them? Arkansas, a really good team last year. Brett Bielema has them always playing tough, and you got them on the road.
They're on the rise. They're on the rise.
And then you get Louisiana Monroe at home, throw it away, you won that one. Then you get the Iron Bowl. But at least the Iron Bowl this year is at home.
Well, I'll say I think that, but then again, you know what? I think that most SEC teams, if you're looking at the core of them, the ones at the top, the ones in the middle, they always have pretty tough schedules because I think a lot of the teams in the SEC are really competitive. I mean, if you look at it, there's really only a couple towards the bottom that kind of are clunkers, and even sometimes they show up to the game. So I think that by saying that, you started off by saying, oh, it looks like Auburn has a pretty, did you use the word easy schedule, that they have a...
I'm not scared of it. And the thing that makes me more not scared of it is I look at last year, they didn't have Jarrett Stidham. I know our Auburn fans already put this in the comment section, but I'm just going to kind of put the microphone onto it. That Arkansas team I just praised, they beat them 56-3. Yeah, that was at home this year. You'll be on the road this year, but you still beat them 56-3. Now you got Jarrett Stidham. Good luck. You got Ole Miss 40-29. Mississippi State 38-14. The only big losses that they had, Texas A&M easily flipped that to a win now with Jarrett Stidham. With me, Clemson, the thing that's going to be interesting is their quarterback situation. They only lost 19-13 last season, and their biggest loss deficit-wise in the regular season, the Iron Bowl, 30-12. Their other losses were 29-16 Texas A&M, 19-13 Clemson, and then 13-7 when they played Georgia.
I think that still those are it's I still think it's a competitive schedule. And I think that that's a good thing that it's a competitive schedule because people are going to be able to see when Jarrett Stidham gets in there and then plays well against those teams. Jarrett Stidham is a good quarterback, and Auburn is going to be a very competitive team. And I think that there was, again, it was a couple of years back when, my gosh, we're praising Gus Malzahn, and wow, this guy is doing a great job, and things are going really well. And then all of a sudden, he ran into some shaky quarterback play. Some shaky quarterback play. And then all of a sudden, Auburn wasn't doing that well. And then it was, is Gus Malzahn on the hot seat? I remember talking about that. But I think that you bring on Stidham, that's a great move. And, Jarrett's no idiot. He doesn't want to come to a team where he's, one, not going to be the starter, two, not going to win. Or doesn't think that he can. He doesn't get any money for coming here. He's not signing some deal, getting some signing bonus. But he is, why come here if I go here? Why? Those all went through his mind. He didn't just go, Auburn. I think that this Auburn team will be a very, very special team this year in the SEC. And not just because of Jarrett Stidham. But Jarrett Stidham just makes them that much better. Of a team that you saw where they were last year, 30-12 against Alabama, doesn't look great. Again, I've said it multiple times now. White didn't start the year as season as a starter. I don't believe, but maybe he did. I thought it was Jeremy Johnson that started the season for them, but again, I could be wrong on that one. Trying to look up the stats, and yep, I believe I was wrong on that one. But
Jeremy Johnson didn't play in that one.
Jeremy Johnson was in there. I mean, he was playing.
Let's be honest, all three of them played in that game.
I think that ultimately what it comes down to is that you didn't have a guy that was set solid every single game. It didn't seem like it. It didn't seem like it for a while. And you can say, Auburn fans, you can be like, you're an idiot. That's fine. I just, of what I remember of Auburn football, I mean, I'm looking at the stats right here, but it seemed like Jeremy Johnson was in more of those games than he should have been, probably shouldn't have been in any of them. But I think that with Jarrett Stidham now, a guy you go to, you hope there's no injury concerns because you already had that last year with White. You don't want that with Stidham, but I think all you have to do is it points to his stats while he was at Baylor. And he put up some pretty good numbers. And if he does not turn over the football, if he is a true leader on that field, you have 3 more years of him. Auburn Tigers, put him on the map.
Well, 2 more after this one.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
3 more years of him being able to 3 more of him being able to play.
Yeah. But the last thing I want to do that I want to say to end this is Auburn for this year right now, I think with Jarrett Stidham, they're a contender. They are a early playoff team. I have a weird kind of... Do I do it, Brandon? Do I go ahead and say it? I'm going to go ahead and say it. What I think is going to happen, and this is Storybook Ricky coming to write a novel.
Yeah, here he is again.
What's going to happen is I don't know how many games they will win and lose up to this point, but I think we will get to the Iron Bowl on November 25th. Alabama will win. It will be a close game. Alabama wins. I am sorry, Auburn fans. I just, at this point, cannot give you the win over Alabama. They are a juggernaut, and until they are proven wrong, I'm going to pick them to not only win the SEC, but win the Iron Bowl each and every year. I think that Alabama wins that game, but then after they win that game, I think that there's a chance that Jarrett Stidham could put Auburn into a situation where, yes, you lost the game, but it was so close, and it might be your only loss, to where both Alabama and Auburn could get into the college football playoff. In a situation, Alabama, goes and plays for the SEC title. They go ahead and win it, and the team that they play from the other side is not even a playoff team, so we don't have to worry about them. But Auburn didn't play championship week, and they get into the playoff as a 4 seed That's what I'm thinking. Probably won't happen because, yet again, coming out of the mind of Ricky Widmer, but that's what I'm thinking might happen this year. We could get 2 teams from the SEC again in the college football playoff, or at least in there. Because remember, it wasn't too long ago, or actually now it may seem like long ago, when we had the old BCS system. There was once upon a time we had an SEC national championship game when Bama played LSU. That's the same thing that could happen for the playoff this year, except it could be Auburn and Alabama. And what about this? I know this probably wouldn't happen, but I want to ask you, if this happened, what would you think? Iron Bowl happens. Alabama wins the SEC title. Alabama gets the 1 seed. Auburn gets the 4 seed. Iron Bowl Part 2 for the semifinals.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see
Not
it.
national championship, but we get in that game again in the semifinals.
It could happen. It could totally happen. I mean, I think that Auburn will be good enough to be up there and be playing in a spot for that. I think that overall it's sky's the limit now, I think, for Auburn, and they should be very excited.
What do you think? What are your final thoughts on Stidham, and how do you think Auburn, at this point, it's still early, but at this point, what are you kind of seeing in your crystal ball, looking at their schedule and looking at Stidham at their quarterback?
Well, looking at their schedule and looking at Stidham as the quarterback, I think that he's definitely going to bring them more wins this year. I think that they're going to be a very competitive team against Alabama this season, and I think that they'll end up no worse than 3rd in the conference.
No worse than 3rd? Who do you think that there's a situation where Alabama's 1st in the conference, Auburn is 2nd in the conference, and the team that's on the other side that plays Alabama, I'm putting Alabama in the game again because, remember, I can't pick against them until proven wrong, that 3rd team is the other team from the other conference. That the other side of the SEC will be so weak, and it's going to be Alabama and Auburn at the top all by themselves, but only one gets to play for the championship in the conference.
I mean, that could happen. That could happen, and a lot of times that's kind of how we've seen. I shouldn't say a lot of times. There have been times when we've seen that in the SEC, one side of the conference is just so bulked up while the other side has 1 or 2 teams that are good. But that's where I would picture Auburn early preseason prediction.
Not even preseason, the preseason.
Not being any worse than 3rd in the SEC.
Well, and this is where you guys come in. Let us know down below what you guys think. Auburn fans want to hear from you. Jarrett Stidham fans want to hear from you as well. How good will Auburn be with Jarrett Stidham behind center at quarterback? Well, thank you guys for checking out this video from the Primetime Podcast. If you want to check out more, click right over here. The video's right over here. Check it out. Check it out.